Well, the estimated cost for Canada's new fleet of 15 Navy combat ships is climbing once again. The price tag was initially pegged at $14 billion, then $26 billion, then $70 billion. And a report today from the Parliamentary Budget Officer says the cost is now more than $77 billion, and additional delays will push the cost up over $80 billion. The Surface Combatant project is the single largest purchase ever by the Canadian government. It's 5 years behind schedule, and there's still no signed contract. The fleet is to be built at the Irving shipyard in Halifax, but the government acknowledges the first vessel will not be delivered until at least 2030. So let's get more details on the findings in his report released today from Parliamentary Budget Officer Yves Giroux. Monsieur Giroux, good to see you again. Thanks for taking time to speak with me.
My pleasure.
So lay out for us how the costs of this procurement have climbed to $77 billion and could hit $82 billion over the next couple of years. What's going on here?
Well, there has been delays in the construction. So whenever you have a delay on a program that is such a big procurement program, whenever you have a delay, it increases the cost because it spans a number of decades, in fact. So there's inflation. There's also been changes in the specifications. So the size of the ships have increased. They went from 6,900 tons to 7,800 tons. And every time you are looking or considering buying a bigger ship, it makes for a significant cost increase. And it's probably in good part what's causing the delays.
Yeah.
And we've also incorporated the most recent information as the government and the shipyards gain more experience in the design of the ship. So that's what is driving the vast majority of the cost increases compared to our previous report in 2019, where we had estimated the cost to be slightly below $70 billion.
All right, just to get this out of the way because of the climate we live in, can any of the delays be, or the most recent delay, anything be blamed on the pandemic, or that's just not a thing?
It doesn't seem to be the case. It doesn't seem to be blamed or attributable to the pandemic. Maybe there's some small parts of the delays that could be explained by that,
but not billions of dollars.
No.
Okay, so you've talked about what has caused the price to go up and the different delays. Was it part of your study to determine why there were delays? Why the sort of design keeps being re-examined, the performance issues re-examined, the demands on the ships re-examined? Is that what this is all about?
We were not asked to look at the reasons for the delays. So we did this report at the request of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Government Operations. And what they asked us to do was to update our cost estimate that we had done previously in 2019, and also to look at alternatives. So they didn't specifically ask us to look at the reasons for the delays. What we did was estimating the current, provide them with the most current cost estimate, and also look at alternatives, which are the FREM, the European multi-mission frigate, as well as the smaller Type 31 frigate. So this is what we did. So we didn't look at the reasons behind the delays.
Right. So those options you looked at, and the possibility of a mixed fleet as well. There are savings to be had there, and they would be cheaper. But would those cheaper options sacrifice performance issues, and would it be another delay on top of that if the project's restarted by looking at alternatives and mixed fleets?
So it's clear that if we were to start all over again, abandon the current design and start all over again and launch a new competitive process to look at other options, there would be probably a 4-year additional delay in getting the actual ships in the hands of the Royal Canadian Navy. That's why we looked at a hybrid scenario where the government would continue with the current design, which is called Type 26, and get 3 ships. In the meantime, while these first three ships would be built, then there would be the launch of a new competitive process to get the remaining 12 ships and to decide what design they would go with, and then it would give sufficient time for the competitive process to be launched. And by the time we get delivery of the 3rd ship, the 4th ship under the new design would be in construction. And of course, depending on the type of ships that would be chosen, there could be significant savings indeed. But as
but
you
also
alluded
performance
to,
issues, right? Yeah,
exactly. So a ship is a ship. Yes, it has capacities, but not the same capabilities. So if, for example, the government was to go with the FREM, which is being used by the Italian and French navies, notably, it would probably have broadly similar capabilities, not identical. But if the government was to choose the Type 31 frigate, which is a smaller, also multi-capacity frigate, it wouldn't have the exact same capabilities. So it's a smaller ship, so it doesn't have the exact same range of capabilities. So the Type 31, which is the cheapest option, clearly doesn't have the same
right.
capabilities.
Like, so, okay, you know, the price tag is the, if I can put it that way, is the sort of sticker shock in all of this when people hear that number. And your office has come under fire from retired Navy personnel trying to discredit your costing even before it was released today. They're worried the rising price tag might make the government reconsider the purchase and maybe go with some of the options you've described. And given how much money is going at the door these days to deal with the pandemic, how do you view that criticism of your office and this notion that you know, you don't really understand what's involved in building a ship, so there's a price tag attached to it, but you're missing the spin-off idea, the Made in Canada section of that, and the argument for that, and all the things that go into making a kind of ship that Canada needs. How do you respond to that criticism?
Well, it's true that different ships have different capabilities. So, and it's also true that having these ships built abroad would probably be cheaper. So that's why when we compared our cost estimates for the three types of ships, the current and the two alternatives, we all assumed that all ships would be built in Canada. So what the House of Commons committee asked us to look at was the cost. And that's what we did, assuming that all ships, regardless of the design that could be chosen, would be built in Canada. So we looked at the cost. We were providing cost estimates to the government, rather the parliamentarians, as well as Canadians. But it is true, the naval officers have a good point. Capabilities is an essential part of a decision to get that type of ship rather than the other type of ship. But the cost is also a very important consideration. I'm not pronouncing on which ships would be the
Right, you're
best
just
option for Canada.
giving Canadians the numbers.
Exactly.
All right.
And it's up to decision makers and parliamentarians to make informed decisions, taking into consideration the cost, but also what does the Navy need.
All right. Yves Giroux, always good to talk to you. Thanks again for your time today. Take care.
My pleasure. You too.